What's going on YouTube? Jay here and welcome to the Millionaire Mindset podcast. And in this video, I'm just pretty much speaking off the top of my mind and I want to talk about how the whole coronavirus pandemic has affected YouTubers, how some YouTubers have lost over 70% revenue over April and May, including myself. Personally, my CPM has pretty much halved, meaning my revenue has pretty much halved over the last month on YouTube. For those of you that don't know, I've also got a main channel called Millionaire Mindset Jay Froneman, which is my main channel where I talk about finance and how to make money online. So that's the channel that I'm talking about. And also in this podcast video, I want to talk about how long I think this coronavirus is going to last, when life will perhaps go back to normal. And I also noticed that China's economic predictions and targets this year were also completely abandoned. So I also want to talk about that and when I think the country's economies will start going back to normal if I compare situations and to the pandemic of the swine flu back in 2009. And firstly, I want to start off with how the coronavirus has affected my channel personally. So on the screen, I've got a screenshot of my revenue earned from May, April, or from January all the way to May. So my main channel only got monetized in November when it was still pretty small. So that's why December was a very small month because my channel had about less than 6,000 subscribers. And then in January, I had a video that blew up my channel to about 50k or about 40k subscribers, and then throughout that it's been pretty consistent. So January, February, March and April I averaged about $8,000 a month. So for my South African viewers, that is about 150,000 rand a month. I am from South Africa, so a lot of my viewers would be from South Africa. And then May, we're already at the 23rd of May, and I'm only at $3,100. So towards the end of April, I was averaging about nearly 60% less some days on my CPM and my ad revenue. And that's simply because businesses around the world, because the majority of my audience is from the United States has been under lockdown. Also, the majority of my audience being a lot from India, they've been under lockdown. A lot of businesses are closed. A lot of businesses are dropping their ads. Not as many ads are running on YouTubers' videos and their different pieces of content in the different niches. And the funny thing is with YouTube is that over April and May, YouTube saw a massive increase in users coming onto the platform. I saw a big increase in views. A lot of other YouTubers saw between 50 and 80% growth on their channel. However, their revenue has been dropping between 50 to 70%. I have been down nearly 80% on some days, which has averaged out about 50% overall throughout the pandemic in April and May. And this is simply because there's just not as many businesses running ads on the platform. You'll see a lot of the businesses that are on YouTube are mostly online entrepreneurs, a lot of online platforms, because physical businesses are closed. They can't really promote their products. So it's completely killing ads, which is killing us as YouTubers and our revenue. So what exactly can content creators do about this? I think that content creators just need to really focus on saving right now and really pushing through this pandemic. Anybody who's got some kind of income, no more Starbucks coffee, no more takeouts, no more spending money on silly stuff that you should not be spending your money on. I literally take 98% of my earnings from YouTube and I put it into savings and I don't even touch it. That other 2% is literally for food, some maybe snacks, some clothes, really, really essential stuff, because right now you should not be buying cars, you should not be buying all this other stuff all your wants. It should really be a time of really head down, hustle hard, save, and just really appreciate the fact that we've just got roofs over our head, food on our table tonight. So I think saving is going to be a big key for content creators, any business people or entrepreneurs or employees earning at least something right now really should be saving. And that's going to bring me to what I also wanted to talk about, which is how long I think the corona pandemic is going to last. If we look back in 2009, which is when the swine flu pandemic was declared in June in May 2009, and by November, December and early January 2010, 4 vaccines were already approved and the pandemic was considered over, which was a total of 8 months. But if we look at the coronavirus so far, the way it has grown and really become viral compared to that of swine flu back in 2009, the swine flu pandemic is completely minute compared to the coronavirus pandemic. And that's simply because of the infection rates and how long the coronavirus obviously sits on different surfaces and how easily it spreads amongst people. And honestly, I think it's pretty much impossible to tell right now. Simply because it's a totally new virus, it's unpredictable. There's just not enough information about the virus yet to determine how long this is going to last. But I think what people can expect is, expect it to be around for a while. I would say anywhere between 12 and 36 months. That's the next 1 to 2.5, perhaps 3 years that this pandemic could last. I mean, if we look back 100 years ago at the Spanish flu, which was probably one of the other biggest pandemics that has happened in the past few centuries, it lasted 4 years. And I think the same thing could be happening here with the coronavirus, is that it can potentially be anywhere between 1 and 3 years. So it's really going to be an interesting next couple of months to see what's going to happen, to see what the news says. I've seen a couple of topics and headlines on CNN that llama and mice antibodies are actually starting to show signs that it's fighting the coronavirus. There's lots of 1 or 2 signs of positivity with finding different solutions to the coronavirus, but like I said, it's still very new, it's unpredictable, it's impossible to say right now. So I definitely think between the next 1 to 3 years, and I think the economy will not be the same for the next couple of years, especially in my country, South Africa, who has just taken 500 billion rand out of the GDP, and that has now been thrown into surplus or into supply for obviously to pay people that is not earning the different levels of work and employment around a country. People are getting paid different amounts. Students are getting paid like 300, 400 rand a month. So that's where all that money is going into. And unfortunately, a country like South Africa is not like the US that can just pull out $2 trillion and put that into surplus and into supply. South Africa is the kind of country, a pandemic like this, any third world country is really going to see a lot of suffering. I mean, I've driven around South Africa in my local town here in Port Elizabeth, and I've seen more people on the streets than ever before. And I think to myself, how is a country like South Africa ever going to get up from something like this? And also, another thing, my sister went to the doctor, or one of my sister's friends went to the doctor the other day, and he mentioned that he doesn't even think South Africa has touched the surface of the virus yet, and yet they want to send our kids to our matrics back to school on the 1st, and seeing how some cases have already started in the schools in Korea with the kids going back to school. I think everything is just way too soon. With the US reopening, I do also think things are very soon, but it's also desperate. People don't have jobs. It's a very sticky situation. So it's also a big risk. But I mean, what exactly can people do? We can't, like, for example, in South Africa, if we stay in lockdown, more people are going to die from poverty than the virus itself. And then poverty becomes the bigger pandemic over coronavirus. So it's a very sticky situation. South Africa has been extremely strict in terms of the police. I mean, if you are caught out of your house on the street outside of curfew time, the police just pick you up and throw you in the van. They're very strict. Sometimes we've had some ridiculous stories here that I don't agree with, but I guess the government just has to be strict in that way, in a sense, to kind of show the media that, you know, we're not messing around here. But also there really have been some unnecessary incidents in South Africa. And then another interesting topic that I wanted to talk about that I saw on headlines this morning was China completely abandoning their GDP target for 2020 for the first time in decades. And I think this is just simply because of the uncertainty with the virus. I mean, China being a mass manufacturer for most of the products around the world, a lot of those factories have been closed. And so far, China has seen a 6.8% decrease in their GDP for the first quarter, which is the first time there's been a contraction since 1992. And China's economic expansion and growth, only being at 1.8% for 2020 so far, has been the worst performance that China has seen since the 1970s. So it really says a lot how serious this pandemic has played a role on the economy so far, especially on the world, especially the United States, China, and South Africa, and how it's all playing a ripple effect on everything. I mean, on YouTube, I don't only build my YouTube business, I've got multiple affiliate businesses, drop servicing businesses, and I can just see the performance of paid ads, the performance of running campaigns on my affiliate funnels. The performance is just not where it used to be as compared to 2019. People aren't buying, sales are much lower, people just don't have money, so it really has a complete ripple effect on anything. And what's also really interesting is seeing the different statistics on my channel, how the audiences are fluctuating between countries, especially between when Italy and France was in lockdown. In that very strict lockdown period, my Italian and French audience completely struck up to 5-8% when I only used to average 0.5%. So it's really interesting following the different statistics of that, as well as the Indian audience. My Indian audience going up by well over 15% over the last 2 months, because obviously with them being a population of 1.3 billion, most of them being at home, no one's got anything to do. They're mostly on YouTube and Netflix. So it's also really been interesting to see how the statistics on the different platforms are being affected by the whole pandemic as a whole. But guys, this was pretty much just a talk that I had off the top of my mind. I actually really enjoy sitting down and just talking what's on my mind through the different headlines that I see on the news, my opinions on it, where I think things are going. I have a little bit of knowledge and background around the finance industry, so I will only talk about what I know when it comes to entrepreneurship, all these different online business topics, and some traditional businesses as well. I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I want you guys to comment down below. Tell me what you think of this kind of setup. Just me talking on the camera here with you guys, giving some insights into the various different situations. I know I usually talk about some more motivational stuff on this podcast, but I'm very excited to pretty much just talk like this, give value, and hopefully teach you guys one or two things, and hopefully you can get a lot of value from my videos. And at the same time, I am too. I enjoy doing research. I enjoy researching the different topics, learning myself, and applying that in my content. So if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jay. I'm an online entrepreneur, affiliate marketer, and drop servicer from South Africa, specifically Port Elizabeth, where I'm very passionate in creating content and influencing and giving value online and teaching people how to build online streams of income. So if you haven't visited my main channel, I'll leave a link down below to that in the description. But guys, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and also don't forget to comment. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in tomorrow's video.